Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Schrodinger's Hot Tub. We are here another week.
It's so great to have you guys back again.
We are ready to hit up a couple more fresh takes. Got a whole new set of questions. Got some good follow up to go through, and I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, we got our first email from a total perfect stranger, and I couldn't be more excited. To one Lady Slayer, I cannot express to you how thrilled I was when I saw your email, and how amazing your name is.
It is the perfect name for the first email.
Yeah, it's the greatest. Now, before we launch into it, I would like to ask your opinion on this, Miles. Is that Lady Slayer, like the Slayer of Ladies, or Lady like the title, like Lord or Lady, and their last name Slayer?
Oh, I definitely think they're shooting for the I get a lot of girls. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I kill the ladies.
Yeah. No, I'm from here on in, I'm only going to be referring to them as Slayer, but I am wholly my headcanon is that it is like the title Lady Slayer.
So to move away from that, we're going to go ahead and get started on the Johnny Depp situation. Now, last week we obviously had a pretty obvious stance. We believed that Johnny Depp wasn't in the wrong necessarily. Now, we only had a piece of the story, it turns out. We considered that Johnny Depp was actually innocent from any abuse, like giving abuse.
Yeah, we were making assertions based off of the information that we had available to us, and we didn't do any research prior to the show, but our good friend Slayer has informed us that the situation is a little more complicated than that. So, to do them justice, and to do the situation justice as well, we went and we dug a little bit deeper, and things are complicated.
Yeah, we picked a pretty controversial, unfinished topic to base that around, and
Yeah,
it's definitely more complicated than we thought.
Yeah, come to find out, I was mixing two lawsuits. I was the lawsuit I had in mind where he was suing the newspaper. What I was thinking of is that he did sue his wife for defamation in the United States. There was a non-disparagement clause in their divorce decree in 2017, and she broke that when she went and wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. She didn't say him specifically by name, but he is highly implied in the article where she talks extensively about the abuse she went through. After that article, Johnny Depp and his lawyers said, "This is ridiculous. It is a breach of the divorce decree of the non-disparagement clause, as well as flagrantly untrue because Johnny Depp was the receiver, not the abuser." And that was the first public accusation on Amber Heard of the abuse of Johnny Depp.
So I want to ask, at that point in this, was Johnny Depp blatantly saying, "I did not abuse you"?
If I remember correctly, I read through it all last night. It's fairly fresh. When she asked for a divorce, she acquired a restraining order and said that she was being abused by Johnny Depp. And at that point in time, he specifically denied those allegations. Did not return allegations, simply denied them. They reached an appeal outside of court and released a joint statement saying, I have the quote up here, just give me 1 second. Yeah, so they reached a settlement outside of court. Amber Heard retracted her request for the restraining order, and they released a statement together saying, quote, "Our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love. Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm." Personally, that last line seems to imply that some amount of emotional or physical harm had taken place, but at that point in time, Johnny Depp had not returned any accusations or allegations of abuse, simply denied them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then Amber Heard, she broke the non-disparagement clause by writing that op-ed for the Washington Post, and that's when Johnny Depp fired back. And that lawsuit against her, the one with Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, that is a $50 million lawsuit that is still ongoing.
So they had a contract. She specifically broke this contract by writing for that newspaper for their
Yes.
blog or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, an op-ed
And
is essentially just an opinion piece.
okay, so
Yeah.
she broke that specifically to write that blog on her opinion piece.
Yes,
And
she did not mention him by name, but he is highly implicated, and his lawyers are claiming that that is a breach of the divorce decree, which I would be inclined to agree with.
still ongoing. So yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely shouldn't have made an opinion last week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not certain if I have an opinion anymore.
Yeah, my opinion on it, it's still, I didn't get to really dictate this very well last time, and I spent the week and really thought it out, and I think I have more or less what I was wanting to say. Basically, if Johnny Depp is the abuser and is guilty of all of these things, then he deserves all the punishment and consequences that are involved with that. You know, like, domestic abuse is a terrible thing, and it's not something to take lightly. So if Johnny Depp is an abuser, a wife beater, and all of his allegations are false, then he deserves all consequences involved. If Amber Heard is lying and she is the primary abuser, then she is now taking the just cause of protecting survivors of domestic abuse and using it to further her abuse against Depp and elevate her public standing, which is disgusting.
That's very wrong.
It's terrible. By treating this cause like that, by using it to further your own public standing and to make yourself more popular, you are discrediting survivors of abuse everywhere. Because of this case, there are people in the future who won't be believed, and that is horrible and wrong. And if Amber Heard did that to gain social power, she is a horrible person. But what seems more likely is that they are both abusers. At the very least, the abuse was mutual. And the fact that Depp has lost his spot in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Amber Heard has not lost her spot in the Aquaman franchise, is horrific. The fact that Warner Brothers sided with one abuser rather than the other is not good. It's a horrible... It's terrible that that's happened. You know, if they deserve consequences, they both deserve those consequences.
I guess I'm going to base my final opinion about it kind of directly around what I believe the courts finalize on. If Johnny Depp turns out to not be an abuser and he turns out to be the one who was abused, my opinion is, Amber Heard, that's terrible. How dare you? That's the worst. In
Right.
the event that Amber Heard is telling the truth and she was the one being abused and Johnny Depp was not, Johnny Depp, dude, step up, my guy.
Yeah,
That was terrible.
Also, yeah, now that if Johnny Depp is found to be the one sole abuser, he's guilty of the same thing. He would then be guilty of faking allegations to try and worm out of consequences.
Yeah, that's a horrible thing. If you are
Yeah.
going to abuse your wife, you need to be able to take the consequences of it. Like, that's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, you know?
In the event that they are both abusers, stop.
Yeah,
Stop it.
yeah. It's the fact that Warner Brothers has sided with essentially one abuser over the other. It's ridiculous. Pick.
Would you wish that they would have not chosen either and kept them both? Or do you think that it would have been best if they kicked both of them out? While the courts are still ongoing. The courts obviously have not decided that the lawsuits are still in play.
Yeah. The likelihood of Johnny Depp getting his contract back for Fantastic Beasts, even if he does win the libel lawsuit in the United States, is pretty low. After after they've already replaced him, the movie's probably going to be coming out pretty soon. Like, there's no way that they're going to replace him and then put him back in. So he's lost that spot. That, if Johnny Depp is found to be innocent, is unfair. They should have waited for the conclusion of all cases involved, in my opinion. They should have waited for the conclusion of the libel lawsuit in the United States and simply kept him on, you know?
I suppose I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think that the reputation of Warner Brothers wouldn't necessarily have been hindered
absolutely.
if they kept both actors on, released a movie, found out one was an abuser, and go, oh, nobody is going to say, Warner Brothers, how could you have kept them on while there was suspicion that they were an abuser? I don't think anybody would have had that opinion where they would have said, Warner Brothers is not as good of a company because they waited until the accusations were finalized before they made a decision on their contracts.
Yeah, it might be a little bit different if, say, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were co-stars in a movie, where at that point in time, something does need to be done to separate the two people who are being abused/abusing.
Yeah, keeping them in the same set.
Absolutely.
You're right.
But they were working on completely different movies. As far as I'm aware, there was no overlap between the cast of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and Aquaman, simply the fact that they were held by the same company.
I think that is definitely a mistake on Warner Brothers' side, where they chose one over the other. I think that was a premature decision. I think they should have waited a little longer. Now, I don't think that both should have been let go. I think they should have both stayed on until the courts had decided one way or the other. But anyways, before we move on to our next subject, I need to clarify something really quickly. We are going to be taking the chance every week to answer some questions, clarify a few things from the previous podcast. We are only going to be talking about the things that are outside of last week's follow-up. So only new topics are going to get into next week's follow-up.
Yeah.
So we are going to go ahead and say this is a one-time exception. We are going to talk about the Grey's Anatomy versus Vampire Diaries for the last time.
Yeah. So our friend Slayer gave us some new categories, and after reading over them, I agree.
I disagree.
I'm into it. Okay, let me give the categories. All medical, cop, and firefighter drama shows, exactly the same. Vampire Diaries and all other supernatural shows, exactly the same. 90 Day Fiancé, Cake Boss, Say Yes to the Dress, all the same show. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Jersey Shore, shows like that, all the same category. 100% agree with that. I think those 4 categories real dial in on what those reality TV shows are.
Here's the thing. I think that Vampire Diaries and shows like Grey's Anatomy are identical. I don't find a difference between them. I think all cop shows and firefighter shows, I've never even heard of a firefighter show, but
Really?
if they exist, firefighter shows, cop shows, doctor shows, they can be grouped together. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think shows like Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries are literally the same show, but I think like those are the same show as in they could interchange characters and I wouldn't know which show I'm watching.
I feel like that might be a flaw on you as a consumer.
Absolutely not. If your show is so poorly written and so poorly set up that I could mistake Gossip Girl for Vampire Diaries, you need to quit as a director. You need to stop working as a TV show producer because you suck at your job. You are garbage.
Dude, both of our memories are shot to shit. There's no way that the majority of people share that opinion with you. Just because shows can be solved with the same solution doesn't mean that they're the same show. I've thought about this a lot now. Your whole thing was if you can stop the show's entire plot by sitting down and talking with each other, it's the same show. Just because 2 shows have the same solution doesn't mean at all that they're the same show.
I will agree with you. Just because they can be solved with the same solution does not mean they are the same show. I will agree that point doesn't exactly make the point that I'm trying to make. I think that Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries are actually the same show.
They may as well be plagiarizing each other, is what you're saying.
They are the same show. The differences are so minute that you really can't realistically look at one and think that it is hardly different at all to the show number 2.
Maybe that's why people like both those shows, dude.
Sure. But I'm saying that Vampire Diaries and Grey's Anatomy are very similar, not just because they can be solved with the same thing, but because the way that they cause tension and drama in the show are the same. So not necessarily the fact that they can be solved using the same methods, more specifically because they cause tension and they draw the user in, the consumer, by causing tension in relationships. Maybe one person dies here or there, but the method of keeping the consumer coming is the exact same across these shows, and that's why I consider them the same. So shows like Pawn Shop out in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Pawn Stars.
Pawn Stars. The reason you watch that show is because you're interested in seeing, well, how much is he going to get for this item? Oh, is it real? Is that actually Bon Jovi's left hand? Whatever. That's a completely different type of drama, okay? Shows like, we were talking about Ben 10. The way you get drama from that show is entirely different than something like Grey's Anatomy. All of their drama comes from unique, stressful situations that push and pull on people's relationships. The show is to see how their relationships survive through these stressful, hard situations.
Okay.
That is what Vampire Diaries, Grey's Anatomy, Gossip Girl, all of those shows are simply a stressful situation has come up. Let's see how their relationships can handle it. Whereas other shows like Supernatural, which is a supernatural show, that's not the plot. The plot is, can two brothers survive long enough to save the world? Save the world is totally different than, can my relationship make it?
Yeah, that was the plot for the first 5 seasons, and then
it was, whoa, ghosts.
No. The first 5 seasons was whoa, ghosts, and then the last 5 seasons was everything in the Bible, please. And then they ran out of Bible monsters, and then they went, ooh, darkness.
They went a little Egyptian and Greek for a minute.
Anyways, the point that I'm gonna make here, the way you're dialing in on these shows, the way you're boiling them down, you're describing a genre. You're not describing 2 shows exactly being the same. You could say a show where relationships are tested by stressful situations that the characters are put through. You could make that a genre. You could make it a strained relationship reality TV. It wouldn't be reality TV because both of those are dramas. So, strained relationship drama.
There are other dramas. There's other dramas out there that don't have this problem. You can make a drama that is way better than these are.
Yeah, because they're not strained relationship dramas. That you've described a genre.
Do you know The Legend of Zelda?
Yes.
Do you know how The Legend of Zelda had a really tough problem after around Link's Awakening? They started to just crank out kind of the same game, the Zelda formula, as we called it.
Mm-hmm.
They got into a rut, and they were just cranking out game after game in that same formula, and it got repetitive, and it wasn't friendly for consumers, because it was just basically the same game, and they weren't expanding or exploring.
Yeah, at least the 3D games.
Correct. That is what I consider is happening to these shows. They've found a formula. X person dies, let's see how the 2 lovers interact, and this person is now sleeping with their best friend, and the whole group is blown away by the fact that that would happen. It's the exact same formula. They're all identical formulas. And I think that is what categorizes them as the same show in my mind. Because there's a whole section of drama, but if you consider that that genre is the formula that I'm talking about, then yes, every single show in that genre of film deserves to be called the same show.
Bold statement.
Nobody should email me about this. We will not talk about it again.
We're not going to return to this. All right. So 2 more things for follow-up.
I've gotten a lot of feedback about the presidential arena.
My wife, Alyssa, actually made a very strong argument for Obama.
Really?
Yes. So Theodore Roosevelt is one of the few presidents that I'm aware of. I'm not a historian, and I didn't talk with my wife. My wife is a historian. She recently got her history degree. I'm not a historian. I didn't discuss this with her in depth, but to my knowledge, the only president that we have descriptions of their insane physical feats as president is Theodore Roosevelt.
I think that's incorrect. I'm going to kind of say I think your historian wife is incorrect in that statement.
No. I'm saying that that's what I'm aware of. I'm only aware of a single president who did crazy feats of strength like that very close to his presidency.
I know Abraham Lincoln was known for being a wrestler.
During his presidency?
I believe during or at least near his presidency.
Theodore Roosevelt held boxing matches with his generals during his presidency in the White House, and he only stopped when a hook from one of his generals permanently damaged his eyesight. And you know what he did then? He switched to judo, I think. He switched to a martial art, jiu-jitsu.
I don't know how anybody thinks Roosevelt wouldn't absolutely body every single president. I think, okay, Washington, I have gotten a lot of feedback. So people are basically saying it would either be these three presidents, okay?
Okay.
Washington, because he has battle experience with a sword, and we're saying lightsabers.
Yes.
Most of the other presidents don't have combat experience with swords.
Yes.
And I agree. I think George Washington would absolutely dominate for a vast majority of this arena.
Mm-hmm.
But if the presidents didn't gang up on Roosevelt, and I think that's kind of the only realistic way they could,
Yeah.
I think Roosevelt would body any one-on-one fight. But I think if he got targeted and singled out by a group, I don't think Roosevelt would be capable of making it, especially if it was someone like President Trump.
Are you serious?
We specified in the rules he gets force lightning powers.
Okay, so what makes him a better candidate than Clinton?
I think him and Clinton would team up. I think they would both go, oh, we have lightning powers. Let's go body a bunch of presidents real quick. I think Joe Biden would get absolutely sweeped. No offense to Joe Biden. He's old. He's just not in his prime anymore.
Yeah.
He's going to get bodied pretty early. I think Trump and Clinton together can take out both of the Bushes. I think Clinton, he could get rid of Clinton just fine. Like a bunch of presidents all the way down until roughly the Roosevelt era. Anyways, I think the George Washington, John Adams, what was the other one?
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison.
I think that squad that we specified earlier would probably be the team to win it. And that's why I'm placing my final bet to George Washington taking the cake in general. I think he is number one. Number two being Thomas Jefferson. Number three, Teddy Roosevelt. And number four being Abraham Lincoln. Number five being either Trump or Clinton.
I think Clinton would take out Trump, and that's not a partisan response by any means, but we're talking about presidents at the age of their inauguration, and Clinton was significantly younger than Trump was. I'm looking up.
Okay, I think I will agree with you there.
At the beginning of his presidency, he was 46. At the beginning of Trump's presidency, he was 72.
So yeah, I think number five would definitely be Clinton in that case. So that's my top five. Makes it to the end, but I think that Trump and Clinton, if they had the sense to team up and work on them together with their lightning powers, I think that they could absolutely body dozens of presidents. Top five, definitely George Washington number one. I think Thomas Jefferson number two. I did get told that Abraham Lincoln would not have wanted to join up with Adam.
John Adams?
Yeah.
Did they tell you why?
I think because they had pretty
I know
difference in opinion
Adams.
when it came to like the Civil War and the slaves and the etc.
You might be thinking of Thomas Jefferson, because Thomas Jefferson is arguably part of the reason why the Civil War happened.
I think you're right. I think they specified it was Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson that wouldn't get along. I think you're correct in that statement.
Because Washington and Adams were fairly like-minded. Adams did not have the energy or charisma of Washington. And then Thomas Jefferson and James Madison were very like-minded, and that's kind of where my knowledge on early presidents ends.
Yeah.
But I know that Jefferson and Madison were both Southern Democratic Republicans, and that was the party that was fighting to maintain slavery. They're the ones who engineered the three-fifths.
I think in that case, Abraham Lincoln, if he doesn't join the Washington squad, he's probably going to get pretty far up. But this is a game of parties. Like, this is a game of grouping together and winning. If it was one-on-one fights only, like one fight after another, and
a bracketed competition, not a Coliseum battle.
If it was just brackets, I think Teddy Roosevelt would win by a landslide. If it was one-on-ones,
absolutely,
Roosevelt would absolutely destroy every single president ever.
Now let me offer you something. Do you think that Teddy Roosevelt would be keen to team up with Abraham Lincoln?
I don't really know either of those presidents well enough to say yes, but I'm going to say in my heart, yes. Okay, I have not even considered the fact that Roosevelt might want to team up with somebody. If he did, guaranteed win. Instant win.
If Roosevelt makes it alive to the last 10 presidents, there's no way he could lose.
If Roosevelt and George Washington teamed up together, there was nobody that could best them. I think those two individual presidents could easily body every single other president, even if they were in groups of like 2 or 3.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to...
I do think the Trump and Clinton game, if they had the Force Lightning, would get pretty far. Of course, I think Clinton would win between the two of them when it came down to it.
Purely because of age.
But I think that neither of them would make it farther than the top 5.
That's reasonable.
But if George Washington and Teddy Roosevelt grouped up, there's nothing any other group of presidents could do.
Oh, yeah. My bet is that I'm going to put in a team as the Rushmore 4.
The Rushmore 4? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's Jefferson, Washington, Lincoln, and Roosevelt. And nobody makes it out of that fight alive.
That's fantastic.
They're making it to the top. And then Roosevelt's going, all right, everybody get to your corners. We're going to do this.
Do you think Roosevelt would be very gentlemanly and be like, okay, we will be fighting in 10 minutes?
Extremely honorable. He would be like, get to your corners, bandage your wounds, meet me in the middle. Like, Theodore Roosevelt at one time was in a bar and a man threatened him with a pistol. Roosevelt laughed at him, charged him, and bodied him before he could get the shot off. Like, what kind of a man gets a gun pulled on him and goes, ha, you wish, and then just bitch slaps the guy out of existence?
I don't get how anybody thinks that Teddy Roosevelt wouldn't win. I just don't understand, man.
Upon further reflection, honestly, I'd never even considered the possibility of Roosevelt teaming up with somebody. If he teams up with somebody, it's game over.
Yeah, it's because Teddy Roosevelt is so good, he doesn't need a teammate. So we just assumed that him alone would be the guy to take on everyone else. If he teamed up with somebody, it is game over for presidency.
100%. No one's making it out of that alive.
So, Jared, to finish this off, let's go ahead and just list top 5. Who's winning through the top 5 presidency?
My top 5 in this order is going to be Roosevelt, Lincoln. I'm going to put Lincoln and Washington on the same level. I don't think Jefferson's making it to the top 5. He wasn't a fighter by any means. I think you make a strong argument for Clinton, I guess, just because...
The lightning.
He's got Force Lightning, yeah.
The lightning powers, man. I'm going to say my number 1, Roosevelt, then George Washington. I think Clinton might actually be number 3 here, just because of the Force Lightning.
Yeah.
Number 4 being Abraham Lincoln. Number 5 being, I don't know, Jefferson, I guess, just because he would probably team up with Washington.
I think he's gonna team up with him, but he's gonna get picked off pretty quick, I
Do
think.
you think George Washington would use him as cannon fodder against Clinton?
Probably.
There you go. So he makes it to the top 5, but he was handed that top 5 spot. So there you go. I think that's going to be the end of follow-up today. Let's go ahead and move on to our questions.
Cool.
So the first question for today actually came to us via email. And the question was, can all foods be categorized into the categories of salad or sandwich? And whether or not more robust categories are required. I've heard this argument online. I've seen it a couple of times.
I have not.
The argument goes, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, I have heard that argument.
Like, what makes a sandwich a sandwich? Well, most people say it is anything between 2 slices of bread, which makes a hot dog a sandwich. And then people say, well, wait. It's connected, which means it's not 2 slices. It's 1 piece of bread that was cut open. And they go, okay, great. Does that make tacos hot dogs?
I would like to argue, what about Subway sandwiches? Everyone agrees those are sandwiches. They're connected at the bottom.
Correct.
If anything, it's a hoagie, which is a type of sandwich.
You have branched into this discussion. Now our opinions are online. Here's what I have to say about it, okay?
Do you want the dictionary definition of sandwich and salad to start with?
That is absolutely perfect. Hit me.
Okay. Dictionary definition of sandwich: an item of food consisting of 2 pieces of bread with meat, cheese, or other filling between them, eaten as a light meal. I would like to point out that I feel like that definition is inherently flawed because things like open-faced sandwiches are well acknowledged.
Yeah, what about my peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah, there's no meat or vegetable in there unless you count peanut butter.
Yeah, and if I eat 4 of them, it's not necessarily a light meal, is it?
Yeah, the dictionary definition is not the barometer that we must set ourselves by, but a good starting point.
Okay, a good starting point, definitely not the end.
Yes. A salad, dictionary definition, a cold dish of various mixtures of raw or cooked vegetables, usually seasoned with oil, vinegar, or other dressing, and sometimes accompanied by meat, fish, or other ingredient. So the definition of a salad is far, far more broad.
Okay, I think classifying things as salad is way better than classifying things as sandwiches. I think calling something a salad, like
Yeah.
a salad is anything with leaves that has toppings on it and you can add dressing. That being said, if you put corn in your mashed potatoes and pour gravy on it, I would consider that a salad.
So it does specifically say that it must be served cold.
Yeah, I completely disregard that.
Whoa. Okay.
Salads don't have to be cold. It's just about like the type of stuff you throw in there.
There is zero precedent for a hot salad. Absolutely nobody has ever said, here is a hot salad. If you're going to say that salads are hot, essentially everything can be a salad.
Wait, but I've had salads with potato chunks in there that were hot.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
Are you positive?
I am at least 70% sure.
Did you have potato salad while your mom was cooking it? Because potato salad is meant to be served cold.
No.
Potato salad, yes, potato salad is meant to be served cold.
No, you're wrong.
The hell you mean I'm wrong? I've made potato salad dozens of times.
Okay, upon realizing what potato salad is, it's definitely supposed to be served cold.
Yeah, what are you talking about? What were you thinking? What were you thinking of?
I think I was thinking of, like, funeral potatoes.
You were probably thinking funeral potatoes.
Yeah, because that's normally served hot.
Funeral potatoes, yes, they are good.
So, is potato salad a salad?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
A cold dish of various mixtures
No,
of raw
no,
or
no,
cooked
no.
vegetables.
You
No,
can't
no.
go off
Listen,
of the
listen.
definition. Why do you classify it as a salad?
Because it fits the definition. A potato salad is potatoes, vegetables, I think it's like onions and other things, in a mayonnaise mixture. And that mixture can be qualified as a dressing, and that is a cold dish with a various mixture of raw or cooked vegetables. It's a salad. Also, it has salad in the name.
I refuse to be bound by the laws of society. I will not take this definition as my final say. Absolutely not.
You don't need to take it as the final say, but that's being like, look at my car. Nice salad, right? If you're just going to say, yes, everything is or is not a salad, and just throw it into sandwich categories, salad categories, completely arbitrarily, by all means, live your life. You're stupid.
Here's what I think. I think that there are 3, possibly a 4th unknown category. My 3 categories are salad variety, sandwich,
Okay.
and soup.
I would be inclined to agree with that. Where do you think pizza lies in that scale?
Pizza definitely is a salad.
I will say a salad is specifically, in this definition, which I'm going to adhere to a little bit more than you will, a salad is specifically meant to be served cold. If you cook a pizza and then put it in the refrigerator for the purpose of eating it, if you cook a pizza specifically to cool it down and then eat it, that is a salad. If not, it's an open-faced sandwich.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if I take a really long time to eat my slice of pizza, I will go from having an open-faced sandwich to eating a salad over time?
No, it depends on whether or not you meant it to be that way.
Yeah, I really like to start eating it warm, and I really love to finish a cold pizza.
Then yes.
Get out of town. Get out of town.
If you meant for the thing to be eaten cold, if you had every intention for that pizza to be cooked, cooled, and served like that, that is a salad.
Okay, I will agree. I think pizza might fall a little closer to the open-faced sandwich, as you said. I think that might be a much better category for it.
Mm-hmm.
But you are so wrong that just the temperature of the food changes
it's
where
the
it fits
intention.
in the... No.
It's the intention behind it. Because a salad cannot be served hot. There is
Yes, it
zero
can.
precedent. There is zero precedent for a hot salad. Anywhere else, a hot salad is a soup.
You're so wrong. You physically hurt me.
Are you Googling hot salad
I'm
right
literally
now?
Googling hot salad. I don't know if the listeners can hear my clicky clacky keyboard. What about with hot shrimp or grilled chicken?
That's usually served cold. You cook it, you cool it, you serve it.
You do not cool that. A hot
You
chicken...
typically do, and even
No.
if you don't, the majority of the salad is still cold, and it is meant to be served as such. You're not microwaving the entirety of the salad.
You shouldn't microwave anything.
You really shouldn't. There are very few circumstances under which a microwave is permissible.
If you microwave anything, that's not categorized as food anymore. That's not in either of the 3.
That's the fourth null category now.
Yeah, that's the... It should be in the trash, not in your mouth.
Look, there is no such thing as a hot salad. There never has been. There may be in the future, but currently you are wrong. If it's hot and fits the salad motif, it's probably a soup.
No.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
No. Okay, hash browns. What are hash browns?
Just hash browns.
I don't know, maybe salad?
Just hash browns.
Just hash browns.
I think just hash browns exist outside of the food continuum we've set.
So there has to be a category for it. Put it in a category. Where do you put it? I put it as a salad.
I'm going to propose a new category, single items. Because is a single carrot a salad? Is a single apple somehow a sandwich?
No, that's just like a really dense soup. Just kidding. I agree. I think single items is single ingredients should be their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because as soon as you add a sauce to it, I could see an argument towards soup. It's a shaky argument. It's a very shaky argument, but I can see where you're going with it.
I think we need to clearly define our categories. So, and how we got to each of them. So there's obviously the sandwich one. I think that is the easiest to follow along. So you've got your sandwich, and then you go, is a hot dog a sandwich? I think yes. Then you go, well, is a taco a sandwich? I still kind of lean on either yes, it is a sandwich, or it is a bread bowl salad.
Yeah. If you break it down to a sandwich as like carbohydrates surrounding something else, then a taco is still a sandwich.
Where do you put Pop-Tarts?
What about Pop-Tarts? Under this food continuum, they're a sandwich. If we're going to diversify, it's ravioli.
I didn't even consider that. I feel like raviolis are sandwiches, though.
They are. That's what I'm saying.
What are pizza pockets? They're raviolis.
Which falls under the sandwich category.
Yeah, if they're a ravioli, They are a sandwich.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so that being said, if I take off the top half of a ravioli, it's a salad.
It's got to be...
It's a salad.
Because it's hot.
No,
You can't have a hot salad.
No.
If you take a cold ravioli
What
out
is
of the,
wrong
out
with
of the
you
fridge...
thinking that salads have to be cold?
It's in the
You're
definition,
wrong.
man.
I don't care about your definitions.
Dude, Miles, if a salad could be hot, I would say that soups are salads and remove the category entirely.
I like how you went with, oh yeah, the sandwich definition, that's just a good starting point. Definitely not the say-all, end-all. But for salads, let's just call that the final say. Must be cold or else it isn't a salad. You get out of here.
Miles, if you took an apple, cut it in half, put a banana between it, and put the other half of the apple on top of it, it is not a sandwich because it does not meet the basic qualifications of the sandwich.
That is a sandwich. You can sandwich two things together. You can take two unedible things and sandwich something between them. That is part of the word sandwich. You can sandwich a carrot between two apple halves, and that is sandwiched.
It's not a sandwich. You're giving me flashbacks to asking to go to the bathroom, saying, "Can I go to the bathroom? May you go to the bathroom?" You're giving me some crazy flashbacks.
That is
man.
a sandwich. Okay, tell me this.
It's not a sandwich.
No. Listen.
What?
Where do you put spaghetti?
A soup under these
It
categories.
is not a soup. Where do you put noodles? Where do you just put the noodles?
Single items.
You're not making me okay. I'm getting kind of angry. I might actually start getting triggered right now.
Look, we need to agree upon
spaghetti is a salad.
We need to come up with definitions of these categories. My definition of sandwich involves at least one piece of a carbohydrate, typically a wheat or corn-based product. That encompasses all of the tortillas and the breads and the pastas and all those. A salad is a cold mixture of things with or without dressing, and a soup is a hot mixture of things with a broth. Under these circumstances, cereal is a salad.
Tell me this. You tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
I get a layer of ham or turkey if you're that kind of guy.
Sure.
You make a small square out of it. Duplicate it. Put some cheese, lettuce, tomato. Put the two meats on the outside. Is that a sandwich? What do you call that, a soup?
Is it hot or cold?
All right, let's say it's lukewarm.
We're talking like a charcuterie board?
Yeah, like it's been in my kid's backpack for like 8 hours, and they pop it out for school lunch, and they go, oh man, I can't wait to have my meat sandwich.
Miles, first off,
The meats are sandwiching the rest of the ingredients. It is not a single item.
this is in the null category.
It is not in the null category.
No,
you don't get a null category.
No, Miles. Meat that has been in your child's backpack for 8 hours. I will call CPS on you.
Okay.
That is
all right,
abuse.
Look. That's a sandwich, and if you say that is not a sandwich, you are so wrong, it hurts me.
If we are talking about...
Okay, no. Okay, it comes out of the fridge.
Yeah.
It's meat on outside instead of bread, but the rest is just a regular sandwich, okay? Like a regular school lunch sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
You throw it on your skillet, and you grill the outside to melt the cheese, and the outside's nice and cooked. What then?
Now you have struck the line, because, in my opinion, under these definitions, a soup must have sort of broth.
So that's a sandwich. That is so clearly a sandwich.
Under these circumstances, it must go on the fringe edge of sandwich, because a sandwich must include some sort of bread product, and a sandwich must include some sort of bread product, be it tortilla, corn tortilla, pasta, something that is a carbohydrate that is usually corn or wheat based. Gluten-free also exists. But under the circumstances that you have lined out, I will admit a hot meat sandwich must go on the fringe edges of sandwich.
I think a sandwich requiring bread is too restrictive. I say if it is the same ingredient on both sides, you can consider that a sandwich.
Must it be on both sides? Because we talked about the possibility of open-face sandwiches.
I think open-face sandwiches exist. I think that is the meeting point between salad and sandwich.
I'll take that argument.
I think depending on your level of sauce or dressing is where you get to the soup category.
So once your sandwich is saucy enough that it is no longer that you must eat it with a spoon, it is now a soup, rather.
So you have your two bases, sandwich and salad, and then you have the scale of, I'm going to call it the percentage soup scale.
Sure.
A salad without any dressing, I consider a full salad 0% soup. As you add dressing,
Okay.
that percent increases. So
You approach the soup barrier.
once you hit, I think, around 45, 50%, somewhere around that range. I'm willing to budge on that. I'm willing to just change my opinion here. I think around that percentage of dressing or sauce or broth, etc.
Yeah.
That's when you start to hit the soup category.
Okay.
That's like your soup is more of like a description. Hey, that salad's soupy.
Gotcha.
So like a collection of potatoes, carrots, steamed vegetables, chunks of meat, that's a salad that is way high on the soup meter, like a 90% soup value, which means it is more soup than it is salad, but I would still consider that salad.
You're going to look me in the eye and tell me that potato stew is a salad.
If it doesn't have broth, yeah.
Look, man, I'm leaning into this. A salad must be cold, and it must be intentionally cold. And a soup must be hot, and it must be intentionally hot. If you accidentally microwave your salad, it's not a soup.
Whoa. Did you just say a soup has to be hot?
Soup has to be hot.
You've never had cold soup?
I have. If you are intentionally making it cold, it must be a salad.
So you're saying depending on the intent, that's the difference. So if a collection of food, by God's will, fell into my bowl and no one intended anything of it, what happens? If a tree falls in the forest, is it a salad?
If a series of veggies and meats land in your bowl and you look at it and go, I am going to eat this cold, it's a salad. If you go,
Die.
I think this would be tastier hot. Look, here's the thing, Miles, the intent matters.
You are so wrong.
If you hit someone with your car on accident, it's manslaughter. If you hit someone with your car on purpose, it's murder. Same exact result.
If a chef makes me a salad and it comes to me warm, and he intended it to be warm, and I receive it cold, and I like there's a blanket in front of me, I'm not allowed to see him prepare it. I'm not allowed to talk to the chef in any way. It comes to me cold, and I assume that is how he intended it. Does that mean that I have received a salad when he intended to give me soup? Does that change the definition of the meal I have in front of me? Because it doesn't change. You cannot say that these foods change in transit. I will not accept that. Pizza, as you eat it, does not become a salad as it gets older.
It becomes a salad if you intend it to be served. I'm going to say the preparer's discretion. If the preparer says, I'm going to make this pizza, fridge it, and then eat it, that's a salad. If the chef says, I'm going to make this soup and send it out and it gets cold on the way, that is still a soup. He's not a good chef, but...
So people who have no ability to sense, like any person that doesn't have the ability to tell whether something is hot or cold, let's say they've got nerve damage, they do not get to differentiate between soup or salad? They don't get a choice? I think this is outrageous that you have claimed this.
First off, I am not aware of any medical condition that makes it impossible to sense temperatures.
You know they
I would be
exist
so-
because you sense temperatures
It
with
has
the
to.
nerves.
It has to. It would have to be severe, massive nerve damage. But that person is now eating Schrodinger's soup salad. It both is and is not hot at all times.
I am so disappointed in you.
Good. Because you're wrong. A salad cannot be hot.
I think you're absolutely wrong. I'm going to go ahead and cut this conversation due to time constraints. We will be talking about this again in follow-up.
Look, dude, if you pop open a can of baked beans and eat it cold, that's a salad.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad that you've said that. I am. Okay, no, I'm not done talking about this.
It's cold meat and veggies in a sauce.
You're telling me if you pull out a thing of chicken broth and it has a couple of carrots in it, but it's cold, that's a salad? You had better think about this. You think long and hard about whether or not you're going to call straight up chicken broth with a couple of carrots and leaves in it a salad, because if you do, we are going to actually fight. I will. Real harm will come to you if you try to pull this on me.
The many miles between us gives me the confidence to say, yes, that is a salad if you eat it cold.
I'm done! I'm not doing this. I won't do this anymore. I'm pulling the plug. I'm going to let all of our listeners personally bully you for such a horrible opinion.
I think it is ludicrous that you think that a soup...
Anything goes. Cats and dogs living together.
I think it is audacious that you think a salad can be hot.
I don't think cold is what defines a salad.
You gotta draw a line somewhere, and by God, stick to it. Okay, smoothies. Are smoothies gonna be another category?
I think I'm going to put smoothies into the soup category or the beverage category. I think that's a pretty solid line between them. I think they're a little bit closer to soup, but we use them as beverages.
Yeah.
So I think a beverage can be classified as like the way you intake it.
Sure.
If you are intending to take it as a single consistency to drink, like if you drink it, you don't have to chew.
Yeah.
I think that is more of a beverage.
Well, so then what's like a breakfast shake? Like a meal replacement or a protein shake?
Yeah,
that's still
I think
a
that's
beverage, right?
Yeah. But what about applesauce?
I feel like applesauce?
I drink applesauce.
I feel like if you have to eat it with a spoon, it's straying towards something else. You know, if you cannot actually drink it, if you have to spoon it, then I feel like we're straying closer towards a different category. I think I will make an amendment. I think a soup can be cold. I think I'm gonna relent on that. That your chicken broth analogy. You make a strong argument. That is a soup. I don't think a salad can be hot, though.
You almost had me. We almost weren't friends. I was almost going to cancel the podcast right then. You're close. You saved it. You saved it here at the end. Listeners, please let us know whatever you think between salad...
Wait, what do we decide on? Beverage, salad, soup, sandwich. No. Single items.
And microwaved garbage.
Yeah. That's no.
No? All right.
You can technically eat it, but by God, you should not. Most fast food goes into the null category.
No, I completely agree. And it's just bad. But let's go ahead and wrap this stuff up, and we'll move on to the next question. So, I wanted to know what you felt on the question, do the employees at places like Beans and Brews deserve a tip? Places where you go in, you order immediately, they give you your food within a minute or two, and then there's a tip section on the receipt or something of that sort.
Okay.
Do you think that those employees or those circumstances, that you should tip them?
First off, if employees are being paid mainly through tips, like if someone is classified as a barista, then a significant chunk of their paycheck comes from tips, and legally they can be paid a lot less. I think when I was a pizza driver, my income was coming primarily through tips, and my wage while I was driving was $4.50 an hour, which is totally legal because you are getting tips while you're out on the road. Under those circumstances, and Beans and Brews falls under these circumstances, under those circumstances, and Beans and Brews falls under those circumstances, if you are ordering anything at a place where your server is being paid through tips, you have a moral obligation to tip them. It is part of the service. Now, I think that I don't think people's paychecks should be relying on tips. I think that's a system that we should phase out of. And if that means that the cost of my meal goes up a couple of dollars, I don't care.
I 100% agree that I don't think the responsibility to pay an employee should come from me, but from the success of the business.
Absolutely. And if it means that they have to, because that's something that restaurant owners have rallied against whenever the subject of outlawing tip-based income comes up, is that it would increase the price of all the food. And you know what? I don't care.
I'm for it.
I tip someone. I've worked for tips. I tip often and generously. Whenever I know that somebody is being tipped for their primary, when I know that somebody is being tipped and that is their main source of income, I tip them well because I know the struggle. So if it meant that the price of my meal went up 20, 25, 30%, do it. I don't care because I'm paying that anyways.
I agree with that thought. I specifically brought up this question because I don't necessarily think that those kind of employees should be tipped. I think that...
Explain what sort of employees.
So the kind of employees like Roxbury or Papa Murphy's or Beans and Brew, where they most likely have a drive-through. Like Beans and Brew, I will go through the drive-through, order my meal at the speaker, then I will go to the window. They'll hand me my drink. They'll hand me the receipt. There's a print option there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel obligated to tip at that circumstance.
Why?
I usually go off of the service that was done. I don't normally go off of getting food deserves a tip. I don't think delivery drivers deserve a tip. I don't think people who just make coffee deserve a tip. I think people like waitresses, waiters, those kind of things, I think they do deserve a tip. Valet, I think those guys specifically do. But people who just are in fast food, I don't think you should be getting tips. I think you should just have a regular wage. Now, of course, they might have a lower wage because they're expected to be getting tips. I should not, as a consumer, have to worry about their wage based on how much I'm going to spend. I don't think that that's the case. I think that if I go to a restaurant and the lady who gives me my food is super nice, super on top of her stuff, etc., I'm going to tip her because I think that she performed an extra service on top of getting my food. I don't think tips should be, I got food, here's extra money. I think it should be, you have performed a outside service than what I was expecting.
Look, here's the thing. I agree with you to a point. When you are... So Starbucks, at least in the area where we live, Starbucks employees are not allowed to take tips, specifically because they have a wage that includes... They're doing a normal wage. They're not doing a tip-based wage. If you are going to a location to get food where you are being served by anybody who has a tip-based wage, you are obligated as the consumer to give a 15% tip. Otherwise, you're a dick. Now,
I am not obligated at all. I completely disagree.
You absolutely are.
I do not think the consumer should be obligated to pay additionally to any single good or service unless the person who is doing the service does something exterior to whatever it is I'm purchasing. I should not be the one obligated to financially compensate the employer. I think that is completely outrageous.
No, let's think about this, okay? You order something online, right? And there's the option, $6.95 for shipping, or below it, free shipping, in parentheses, the driver will not be paid. Do you pick? I think it is morally irresponsible to intentionally not pay someone for their services. Should their employer be paying them for those services? Absolutely. If the employer is not paying them and you are benefiting from that, you are abusing their services.
No.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not.
Yep. Absolutely.
If a delivery driver drives a pizza to my house, I have paid for the pizza. I have also paid an additional fee for delivery. That was the additional fee. I should not have to tip. Unless they drove in a whatever and juggled my pizza into the air or said, hey, like, they were extremely nice to me when they came out and go, oh, yeah, funny joke, haha. Or even was just dead, like, if they're performing something exterior to getting pizza from pizza store to my house, they do not deserve a tip. Tipping is me giving money to the individual. That is not me paying for their service.
You are paying for their service. Look, Miles, I'm gonna give you what might be a hot take to you, but what I think is a pretty common attitude. If you do not want to tip, go to a place that doesn't ask you to tip. If you don't want to tip your barista, go to Starbucks. If you don't want to tip your delivery driver, pick the pizza up yourself.
Okay, if that's the case, then even places that pay employees a fair wage will just put a tip down, and then you're what, socially obligated to put down a
No,
tip?
that's
if that's
different.
an option?
No.
Am I expected as the consumer to know how much they are getting paid?
Yes.
Absolutely not. That is such an outrageous claim. I should not be expected to know how much my barista is getting paid.
You can make some general assumptions. You're not expected, or at least you shouldn't be expected, to sit in the parking lot of every business that you go to and thoroughly research the business that you are participating in. But as a consumer, you should know what you're doing. If you know that the company that you buy from uses slave labor, you should stop using that company. I don't buy anything from Nestle anymore because Nestle is a terrible organization. Now, obviously, that is a high exaggeration in comparison to what we're talking about, whether or not you should tip folk. But under these circumstances, I will not ever willingly pay somebody less than the state minimum wage. And by not tipping someone whose wage is based on tips, you are, in effect, paying them less than the legal minimum.
I am not the person responsible for not paying them the state minimum. That should not be in any way, shape, or form.
You are supporting their bosses. You are supporting the people who are allowing this. You are enforcing their behavior.
Okay, so what you're saying is, as a society, we should not continue to service companies that do not pay a full minimum wage.
Absolutely.
We should not go and spend money at Beans and Brew as a society. And we should hurt the baristas while we're there.
If you are not going to step up and make up the space that the employer has left, do not do business there. Because you are telling those business operators it is okay to continue underpaying your employees. And I will not participate.
Okay, so let's say no one tipped. So let's say they're getting paid $4 an hour, and they're expected to make up the extra $3.25 an hour that would get them to the state minimum wage. If that was the case, and not a single person tipped them that day, what happened?
What do you mean? It's perfectly legal. Like, you can get stiffed all day long. That is entirely legal. You can get stiffed all day long. Now, if it is found out that your employer is discouraging customers from tipping or something like that, that is a violation of workplace rights. But you are allowed to be paid lower than the minimum wage if you are expected to get tips. I think that's wrong.
So what I'm saying is, let's say not a single soul tips at this business for a year, and they just get paid $4 an hour every single day. Not a soul tips them a cent. The business would then be required to give them a living wage.
That is not true.
That's how it is. Just because, like, if that was the case, then people over at Amazon would go, okay, I'm going to pay you $3 an hour. If people stiff you, people stiff you. That sucks. Whatever.
Miles, you have way too high an opinion of everybody in the United States.
No, I think if they are consistently paying people $4 an hour day in, day out, then somebody in some court of law or something is going to come in and say, you said you were going to pay them $4 an hour in response to the tips that were going to be coming in. If tips are not coming in, you are not paying them state minimum wage. You must pay them the difference.
That is straight up not how it works. I hate to be the one to break it to you. We live in a far, far crueler world than you might hope.
If that was the case, people would no longer work there. The business would fall.
That is bullshit. People will work at dead-end jobs because there is nothing else that they can do. How long did you work at Little Caesars, and how much were they paying you?
Look, I agree, but I wasn't getting paid $4 an hour.
Okay, but let's say that you had difficulty finding a different job. Like, so often, like, the people who do the most fundamental parts of our society, the people who keep our world running, the janitors, the servers, the cooks, all those people are paid the worst. But if they disappeared, if they all went on strike, society would dissolve.
I'm looking this up.
Do it. Straight up. I think you are not as good of a person if you don't tip.
So, I went through and Googled this, and here's kind of what I found.
All right.
If an employee's combined tips and hourly wage, whether it's $2, $4, whatever it is an hour, if per hour they do not meet the $7.25 difference, the employer is required by law to make up the difference.
How often do you think that happens?
It's
How often do you
by
think
law.
employers honor? Dude, you know how many laws are violated daily? Okay, you never worked as a tip server, right?
No, I did not. Well, actually,
Yeah.
kind of, yes. I worked in a Tsunami sushi and bar. I did receive tips at that part.
Right, were you receiving minimum wage?
Yes.
So that's irrelevant. Sorry. Like, when I was working at Papa Murphy's, I was making $8 an hour because it wasn't a tipped position. I got like 3 tips while I worked there, but we weren't asking for tips. It's a different situation. When I was working as a pizza driver, there were, if memory serves, 7 different nights in the... Oh, how long was I working there? I worked as a Domino's pizza driver for 4 months. And in the 4 months that I worked there, I can think of 7 different distinct nights where I got no tips. I came in for a 6-hour shift and left with no tips at all. Not a single one of those nights was I compensated for that. It doesn't happen.
Okay, in my opinion, that's tragic, but that is not the consumer's fault. That is either the company's fault for not following through on federal law, or that is your fault for not making sure you are accurately compensated. That is not the consumer's obligation.
If you continue to give business to an amoral company, that company is being told that you are okay with it. If you continue to request service from a business that is not fairly compensating their employees or anything else, you are telling them that you're okay with it. That their poor practices.
I assume that while I'm going to shop at places like Beans and Brews or Roxbury, wherever takes tips like that, and I don't tip, I am expecting that that company is doing its lawful business and compensating the employees to a bare minimum of $7.25 an hour. It is not my obligation as a consumer to double check to make sure that an employee is properly compensated.
It kind of is. You can plead ignorance so long as you don't know. When you do know that those employees will not be fairly compensated, it is now your responsibility as a consumer to make up that difference or tell that company that you no longer support them by stop servicing them.
I think at that point, it is on the employees or people who know the employees to come in and file a lawsuit to get some to get properly compensated. If something is not following federal law, that is not in any way the consumer's fault for supporting. That is the federal government for not checking in on it, the company for not following federal law, and the employee for not making sure they are properly compensated. I do not think the consumer falls anywhere in that line.
The consumer falls within that because the consumer is fueling the enterprise. If you are giving money to this company that is not fairly compensating their employees, you are giving them money to hire lawyers to win lawsuits against their employees. The United States, the labor laws are very poorly enforced.
That is not up to the consumer to double check to make sure that labor laws are being enforced. I'm here for a coffee.
You can plead ignorance as long as you don't know. And as soon as you know, it is your responsibility to stop. My favorite pizza, my favorite frozen pizza is a Tombstone pizza. It's got tons of nostalgia for me. I found out that Nestle, the company, I could do a 45-minute episode on how terrible Nestle is as a company. I found out about their terrible practices, and I said, okay, I will no longer buy any Nestle products. And I continued to buy those Tombstone pizzas for probably 6 months to a year, and then I flipped it over one day, and boom, right on the back, the Nestle logo. I had been completely unaware that I had been inadvertently participating in the chain of cruelty that is the Nestle company. And it is my responsibility as a consumer to no longer buy those pizzas. And I don't, and I haven't.
I personally think that if you continue to tip employees who are working for companies that do not fairly compensate their employees for the hours worked to at least guarantee a $7.25 an hour rate, you are part of the problem, not me. Because you are allowing this to continue. By continuously tipping them, you are simply camouflaging the problem. If nobody tipped and nothing happened, the problem would only become that much more aware to the federal government and to the employees to go and get fairly compensated by that company. To continue to tip is you to continuate and perpetuate that problem.
It would take years of needless, senseless cruelty on behalf of the baristas and others, of legally paying people significantly less than the minimum wage, years of cruelty before something would happen, and I will not participate in that cruelty.
Man, dude, we got kind of heated today.
Yeah, I know that you're a good person. We've known each other for a very long time, and I know that you mean absolutely nothing malicious by this. If a random person came up to me in a bar and we started talking, and within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, he said, yeah, I don't tip because I don't think it's my responsibility, I would immediately think of him as a bad person.
Ouch. I will say
Yeah.
I do still tip when I think that their service goes above the bare minimum. Yeah, even just above bare minimum service.
As far as I'm concerned, bare minimum is 15%. 15%
Ooh.
is
Ooh.
that is the bare minimum when it comes to tipping. You tip 15%, and if they've done something exceptional, you tip 20 or 25. Honestly, I'll usually shoot somewhere around the 20, 25, 30 range.
If they simply brought food to my table, like if I was in Village Inn and they brought food to my table and did literally nothing else, did not refill waters at all, didn't come and double check on me, simply set food down after I ordered, came back, gave me a receipt, charged my card, and then handed me a box, I would probably not tip. Because I think that is the bare minimum that a person would have to do their job.
For a waitress or a waiter, that's not really bare minimum. Involved in the job is checking up on the customer. If someone dropped my food in front of me and said, "Here you go," left, gave me the tip, and never said another word to me, I'd probably tip them like 5 or 10%.
Yeah, I will say that's probably I don't think I have ever gone to a sit-down restaurant and not tipped. Yeah, if they come and like check on me, fill up any kind of waters, 15% is usually where I lie around. If it was exceptional service, I went to Red Robin with my wife for her birthday, And the waitress who served us was exceptional, wonderful. I gave her a 50% tip, I think, something like that. And that's because I truly believe she went above what her job truly calls for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think tips should be reserved for, is exceptional, above and beyond the normal services required for your job.
I would agree with you if it were not for the fact that that is how people make their wages in so many circumstances. It shouldn't exist. The like quote required tip system really shouldn't be a thing.
I agree.
It's really, as far as I'm aware, it's really only a United States thing. It was actually, I don't know if you know this, and I might be about to make a fool of myself, but I believe that paying employees through tips was kind of a Jim Crow law. It allowed restaurant owners to hire black workers, pay them significantly below the minimum wage, and say, okay, if you get tips, you get tips. It's a poor system and should not exist in the United States anymore, but it's what we have, and I won't punish the servers for simply trying to pay their bills.
I will agree. I hate the fact that makes me feel like I'm punishing servers, and I do almost always tip the baristas at Beans and Brews or the people who make my smoothies at Roxbury. I tip every single time I go to a sit-down restaurant. I just don't think I should.
I see. That's a much more admirable position. That is I don't think I should be doing this, but I will not punish the worker involved. That's an admirable position. I totally respect that. That is an ideological difference, but you're not actively causing harm.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if you and I said, you know what, we're never going to tip again in order to try and drive companies out of the idea, you and I alone are not going to change that.
I think if me and you specifically went out to try and rally people together to go and make a difference here, that would be one thing. But two dudes not telling a soul that you don't tip anymore, that is specifically trying to hurt the employees. I will agree with you. But if you're trying to rally people together to make a difference in this situation, then I think you are justified in not tipping anymore.
If you were going to go through the effort of rallying people, rally a lobbying group to tell Congress to remove it as a legal legal capability for restaurants. If you're going to go through the effort of organizing a group of people,
I will agree with you there. So, in that case, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this question here. I think we're going to finalize it with the thought of, let's start a rally, change some legislation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Peaceful, of course, 100% peaceful.
If we could get some real people behind us and get something together to change the lives of people working for tips, I would be so here for that.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast on this part.
Yeah.
What a good time we had.
It's been a pretty good day. Pretty good episode.
I got actually heated there for a moment.
Both of us did. On both of our topics. One of them a little more consequential than the other, but
well, in that case, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
See you around.